Hello, this is Joshua Lynn Arnold with RuralKingsInvesting.com, where our mission is lifestyle freedom. We accomplish this through teaching the principles and sharing the strategies of how to invest in business and real estate in rural communities. Today we have a guest with us, mentee and friend, Mr. Caleb Kendall, and we are going to discuss, he's facing some challenges with his young investing career in business and in real estate, and we're just kind of on an open forum today. So I'm going to hold the resolution down and open him up to questions. Caleb, what you got for me?
What do you do when you feel like you've gotten to a certain point, you feel like you need to do more, but you don't know which direction to take to get you over the hump, when there's multiple directions that you can take?
Okay, so the question is, what do you do when you get stuck? I'm very familiar with this situation. I've been stuck over the last 18 years at different points in my career. I say career, in my investing life, as I would try to grow my portfolio. Tell me first a little bit about yourself. What properties do you have? You have a multiplex apartment units. I know I've been to see them personally and looked at them. Look like a great location, a great property. Predominantly it's in good shape, but you are doing some rehabs. You've got 4 vacancies right now. Originally they were renting for, on average, $600 a month, and they're in a town called Bolivar, Tennessee, and that population...
Probably about the same here.
Now look, this is real sophisticated, guys. We're being real raw with you. Population of Bolivar, Tennessee. 5,200 people. So it's got a population of 5,200 people. Now, this little town is located about how far from Stanton, you would say?
Probably 40 minutes.
About 40 minutes from Stanton, Tennessee. Stanton, I bet it doesn't have 1,000 people in it. We can look up and get a little bit more specific on how far, but there's this, the largest investment in automobile industry history, in the automobile industry history. We've got about 30,000 jobs that are going to be descending over the next few years into this central West Tennessee area that's located, as you would understand it, maybe from Memphis, maybe 30 miles, 40 miles to Memphis is probably, let's see here, that's exit 16, and they're at exit 47. So I don't want to do math on camera because I'll really expose how much I need a lot of help in my business life, but about 40 miles. And so it's strategically located in the sense that there is just no housing for, I say no, there's not nearly enough housing anywhere in the Central West Tennessee Association of, well, I'm a part of the Central West Tennessee Association of Realtors, so that's why that came out. But in the Central West Tennessee area, there's not enough housing to support all of the jobs that are coming in. And it's the Ford plant that's being built there. I think it's about 5 square miles of concrete that's being poured to support this location. So we have a lot of things that are coming into West Tennessee. The reason that's exciting is because we don't have any income tax in West Tennessee, and it's a great state to live in. It's got all 4 seasons. And when you have these little rural communities like Bolivar and the one that I live in, which is Milan, there's all these little supporting communities that need the jobs and need the economic growth. And so we're positioned really well to have a prosperous 10 to 20 years and further. And when we think about real estate, we might do shorter term deals, but ultimately the long-term outlook is looking very, very good for the West Tennessee area. So now let's go back to Mr. Caleb. You've got how many units there?
16.
16 units. And originally you purchased it for? 600 grand. I love the story. I met Caleb on a Myron Golden. Actually, I did not. I met his aunt and uncle on a Myron Golden challenge program, and in that we in that we met because I was at a real estate gathering from a previous student that I had at a Jackson Area Real Estate Investor Association for about 7 years. I would go to a hotel and would expose myself. At the time, I was still building my business. And so what I would do is I would go and work on my speaking skills, and I would teach real estate from the ground up, whether it be wholesaling or buy and hold or lease purchase or land contract or flips. So I would just teach about different strategies and different tactics and principles that would be required for people who were just getting started out in the real estate business. And because of that, there was a gentleman from his hometown that he knew that was doing his own gathering and coaching to create more prospects and more leads for his business. And so that's how we met. And from that, we built relationships, which is paramount. As I've shared with you before, relationships is going to be the cornerstone of your business in a rural community. So I really want to harp on that. You never know where your resources are going to come from so that you can expand your resourcefulness. And so I met Caleb, and Caleb eventually came to my hometown, which was about 40 miles also in another direction from my hometown. And he came in, and while we were talking about his properties, and just so happens that his mentor, his original mentor in the real estate business, who's also a financial guy with Edward Jones, told him about this guy that he acquired a property from back, I don't know how many years ago, 15, 20 years ago. And that guy, when he first started getting real estate, did the financing, did owner financing for him. We'll talk about that some more. And come to find out while we're at lunch, the person that owner financed his mentor and got him into the real estate business was my father. And it was an instant connection. It was awesome. This is what you'll have when you start to invest in your own rural communities. You're going to find that the world is a really small place. And I know that's not very far, but it's just interesting how those interwoven relationships connect, and then we build from those relationships to develop our network and build out our resourcefulness, and then we share one with another those resources, and we grow our portfolios. So back to the issue at hand. So Caleb says, what do you do when you feel stuck? I remember particularly one good time. I don't remember how many properties I was at. I was probably at around 85 to 100 properties. I was somewhere in the late 20s, about to hit 30, maybe early 30s, when I had borrowed all this money, maybe 10, 15 million dollars, and I was probably 85, 90% leveraged. And as I'm in that, I just always felt like I was broke. I mean, that's just the truth. I felt like I was broke. I had all these units and all these properties, and I'm just running like a chicken with my head cut off, and I'm trying to build it out. Now, I had a living income from my commissions as a real estate agent and as a property manager and as an insurance agent. So I did that to put food on the table, feed my family. I was doing well, but my entire general focus was upon building my long-term wealth. And I would encourage you not to take your eye off the ball of the long-term goals. So as I'm doing that, and I'm challenged with that, if you've watched any of my previous videos, I mentioned a man named Mr. Flippin. So I always would lean back on Mr. Flippin and my father and other mentors in and around and about me. But I went to Mr. Flippin and I took him my financials, and I'm like, Mr. Flippin, I feel like I'm just not getting there. I mean, I borrowed all this money. I think at the time my net worth was 150 grand. And again, now remember, I've got like $10 million borrowed. And I may have a total gross rental income at the time between my properties of around 15 grand a month. And I just, man, I felt stuck as well. I mean, every time tax time, property tax time would come around, I was like, God, I feel like I got to rob Peter and pay Paul. I got to go sell something that the only equity I thought I had built up. I got to go sell it so I can pay the property taxes, and then the insurance would come around in February, and my insurance bill's high. I mean, it was, at that time $30,000 or something like that for a year, and I didn't have a lot of systems in place. And we're going to talk a lot about systems as we continue in this path, because systemizing your processes are going to be paramount. I learned from my mentor and coach, Myron Golden, specifically about the quote of 90% of all of your problems in business are your systems. And when you perfect your systems, and when you critique, and life changes, so things change, and you're going to have to always be adapting. I mean, until COVID hit, I still took cash through the door to collect my rents. I mean, I would have over $1 million a month coming in rents, in cash. I mean, that's super dangerous. And I didn't even realize that's how much money I had coming in. I know that might not sound very prudent, but there's got to be a lesson in that. You don't have to be the brightest crayon in the box to get there in this business. I'm not encouraging you to be whimsical in your business, but I am saying that it is natural to have chinks in your armor. That's what my business partner and I would say. We're always working on our armor and making sure that we're getting all the chinks in our armor worked out. So I go to Mr. Flippin. I say, Mr. Flippin, I just feel miserable. I mean, there's just never any money. It's like every time I think I've got a little money built up in my rental accounts, because I would have them in different entities for asset protection, which is interesting. I'll share this in another video. But asset protection, I spent more time and more money working on asset protection in the beginning of my real estate investing career, and frankly, I didn't have any assets. There was nothing to protect. But I went to a seminar, and the seminar told me that I was supposed to have an LLC, and I did LLCs, and then I borrowed all this money, these millions of dollars, and I've got all these properties, and then tax time come around, and it's like, you owe $20,000 in franchise and excise tax. And I'm like, for what? I don't have any money, and it's all borrowed against the things. And so that would feel frustrating. I'd feel like I'm just not getting anywhere. I'd feel very, very stuck. So I'd go to Mr. Flippin. Mr. Flippin, I just remember he had them glasses on, and he'd just look up above them glasses. And a little history on Mr. Flippin. He was considered the wealthiest man in the county in circles. I mean, nobody could prove that or knew that. It's not like anybody got to see his not like anybody got to see his portfolio, so to speak. But Mr. Flippin, he'd look up and he'd say, "Oh, Mr. Arnold, you're doing fine. You're doing fine, son. You're doing fine. How old are you?" And I'd say, I don't know, 29 or whatever age I was. And he'd say, "Oh, just hang in there, buddy. You're doing good. You're doing real good." And I'd just be like, "Oh, like, what does that even mean?" He just says, like, keep it the grind. Just keep going. And on this side of the coin, on this side of the hill, I just can't tell you how much that meant to me to have my mentor tell me that I was doing good. And though I might feel that I was stressed, I mean, part of that is just overcoming challenges. When you're in business, you have to understand you can't climb a smooth mountain. There is ridges on a mountain that are challenges in your life, but it's being savvy and being resolute in determining that you're going to reach your goals and overcome those challenges. And those that believe that you can just foretell every challenge that you're going to face in your investing career will lie to you about other things also. It's just hard to encompass everything you're going to need to know when you're going into business. At RuleKingsInvesting.com, our goal is to teach you as many of those things as possible. And we're going to stomp out videos that we hope are opportunities for you to learn and foresee a lot of the challenges that you're going to face. But business is fast, and it comes at you fast, and things happen. But when my mentor would tell me that, and I would just get a sense of a peace of mind about what he would tell me. And then I would get on the other side of this hill and I look, and I just remember looking up 3 or 4 years later. And one day I'd come out of my accountant's office, and he told me I was a millionaire. And I just thought, well, that's news to me. I've seen people win the lottery, and they're jumping up and down and excited. I'm like, what do you mean I'm a millionaire? Where's that $1 million? I don't got it. I mean, maybe it's on paper. And so I think that might be one of the challenges that you're facing. Is that right, Caleb? Yes. Okay. So without getting into specific details, because objective is not to share your personal financials, but with your permission, to have your permission to kind of share. Okay, so it's my belief that his apartments are probably worth somewhere between $1 to $1.2 million. Now, will it fetch that if he puts it on the market today? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. It would certainly fetch around $900,000 on an easy day. And you say you had about $600,000 in it. Okay, and you probably, how long have you had them? Okay, so 2 years next month. So, you may be closer to around $500,000, $550,000 owed. All right, so that means he's, here he is. He feels broke. But how many people would like to feel broke and have a net worth of around, and I don't know, he may have other things going on in his life. We're just sticking to this particular deal. But $250,000 to $300,000 net worth with an income flow that he can go to the bank and have confidence that, there's people that work every day, 40 hours a day, 40 hours a week to 80 hours a week, that are trading their time for money and are working really hard. And they also are grinding. Look, their life, it's real to them too. They're working hard. Do you know how long it feels for them to be, there's never enough month at the end of their money, and they feel stuck. The challenge is, or the blessing is, you have an asset. What is an asset? This is a good time to talk about what's an asset. What is an asset? An asset is anything that puts money in your pocket. And a liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket. Now, I might have done this with you before, Mr. Caleb, but I'm going to ask you this. Actually, no, I'm going to go back. No, I think I've taught my son this. So I'm going to ask Mr. Harrison. I don't think I've talked to Mr. Harrison about this before. Your house that you live in, is that an asset or is that a liability?
Now I know now it's a liability.
Yes, it is a liability. It's a liability. Why? Even though the bank, when you go to the banker says, oh, yeah, this is your asset. No, they say it's an asset. And that's true. It's their asset because they have a lien against it. And so it brings them in income. But unless you are using your home as an office to your business and it creates an income to you, or you Airbnb the property out, you don't have that as an asset. It shows as an asset maybe in your balance sheet, but truly if it's not bringing in an income, is my car an asset? My car is not an asset unless I'm an Uber driver. Now it's an asset because it has an income piece to it. If it's a taxi, it's got an income piece to it. An asset is anything where money is going into your pocket. How about my rental property when it's vacant? Is it an asset or is it a liability? It's a liability because money is going out of my pocket to sustain that property until it's rented. Now, when it's rented, it is now back into asset mode. So just when you're in business, just think about this specifically as it pertains to real estate. If money is not coming in, then that property or that entity, so if it's a business, it would be the same way, that entity is a liability to you if money is not coming in. If money is coming into your pocket, then it is an asset. So he has an asset that's generating him income on a monthly basis, and it also gives him a net worth. It gives him a value. Now, money's not the most important thing in the world. It's not even close. But it is close to oxygen. I mean, you need it to live, especially in America today. So you need money. You need income. You need cash flow coming into your life. So as that money's coming in, you're getting stronger and stronger. While Caleb is asleep, assuming his properties are rented and it's above the break-even line, he has an income coming in and he has an asset generating. Now, real estate has the real estate is ideal. I'm going to write this one out. Real estate is ideal.
And will you accept that request up on the board?
Why is real estate ideal? Well, because it's income from your rents. It's depreciation. Now, y'all don't watch my spelling because it's real likely. I can spell about any word. When you say spell it, I can spell IT. But whatever word you were asking about before you said spell it, I don't know that I can. Then there's equity. Anybody want to guess what the A is? Appreciation. Appreciation. And my favorite is the big L. What's the L?
Leverage.
Leverage. Yes. Leverage. So when you have an asset in the form of real estate, you have income, depreciation, that's on your tax side, equity, appreciation, and leverage. That's the miracle of investing in real estate. So, Mr. Caleb, you feel stuck. But let me tell you something. You're in a very blessed place in your life. So, look at the positive. Now, we always need to understand we're going to have chinks in our armor. So, what do you do when you feel stuck? You look at any portion of your real estate and you identify what would be the highest priority item that will grant you the best return in value as you see it with good counsel. So I would go to my mentors. And who are your mentors? Are they people that are making the money that you are? I'd say no. You need to go to the people who are doing better than you are in the field in which you're having your challenge or your question. So sometimes I'm struggling with some parenting decisions. Well, I don't go to the richest man in the city to get parenting advice, although he may also be the best parenting person in the city, the best father in the city. But I go to someone that's a great father that I respect and that I honor and that I want to learn from because he's got a sound family environment. Well, the same is the way with our real estate. So if you own an apartment building, and you feel stuck in your real estate with your apartment building, the best place to go is the guy that owns apartment buildings. Now, the good news is I just so happen to own a bunch of apartment buildings. So I can give him some feedback on that. But he doesn't just need to come to me. He has another mentor that sold him the apartment buildings. And he also, I think you told me he has about 70 units as well. Okay, so he went to him as well. You also went to Mr. Lee, is that correct? Okay, that's what you do. You anchor down with good counseling, and then you ask them, what is the best thing you can do? Well, I think right now, because of the nature of what's going on within our market, I think looking at your rent rates to see if you have opportunity to do some rent increases. You look at your lease expiration dates and you evaluate those and you try to maneuver those up. Now, in a rural community, now the big metropolitan thing says you need to do a 4% raise every year, and that sounds great, and it is a good policy, but it just doesn't work out so simply in a rural community. Rural communities uniquely can be insulated from the big highs and lows that you'll see on the national news, because ultimately their stats are going to be favored by the big cities on the East Coast or the West Coast. I don't know how y'all are looking at that. Y'all have to help me out. The East Coast and West Coast. So what's going on there, what they can do is be a great projector for you, because typically that moves towards the center. And as we're in Central America, the central part of America, it moves to us, but it happens to the rural community so much slower. And there's not all this right here unless, like, you have a Blue Oval or a Tyson Foods coming in, which recently came in and made a $3 billion investment to a little town called Humboldt right up the street. So what do we do when we're stuck? One, we go to good counselors. We go to those who, in the areas in which we're stuck. Now, if it was in a bunch of single-family houses, I would go identify somebody who owns a lot of single-family houses. If you owned office buildings, I'd go to the guy that is successful in your local market, develop that relationship, and listen, it's my experience that those who are successful love to be generous with their knowledge and experience. They just are. I love to be a part of helping see someone who was like myself struggling at a time where I felt like I didn't know if I was going to make it. Because I remember how much it meant to me when Mr. Flippin or my father or Mr. Ross, so many of these would come and encourage and support and teach me and give me forms of encouragement. And then they would identify stuff like, look at your lease dates. Okay, when was the last time you considered requoting all your insurance policies? Because you might, if you have a big property like that, you can swing your percentage points on your rate of return. Unfortunately, what happens is you get lulled to sleep with your insurance policies. They just come out, and sometimes it's good to go get those requoted, because I have found, let's see here, about 2 years ago, I think my insurance for my properties was around $135,000 a year, and we requoted with another insurance company and got a better coverage and a better liability policy, and we ended up paying around $101,000 a year. So, hello, did anybody hear that? That's $30,000+ a year just by requoting the policy and finding another company that was hungry for my business. And again, everything has to be evaluated in the relationship piece. Maybe you take that quote and you go back and say, listen, we want to continue to do business together, and I'm not trying to put your feet to the fire, but we're getting a better opportunity for better coverage for $30,000 less. And maybe they can get it, maybe they can send that up the chain and they can come back and they can save you $28,000 a year versus $34,000 a year. Which decision do I make? I'm not going to make that decision for you, because ultimately you know the relationship and the value within your communities on how to make that decision. And money is not everything, okay? But when you can swing the needle in such a big way, that needs to be carefully evaluated. So look at your insurance policy. Another one, let's see here. Maybe I don't think this would be the case, certainly where we're talking about, but someone else in the world might be in an area that's gone down. Maybe a big factory's moved out and property values had lowered. I can't remember where it was in Ohio, but they had a train wreck, and my goodness, all the chemicals spilled, but people they can't pay people to buy their house. they can't give their house away because of the potential environmental issues. Well, then I'd be going to my tax assessment and look at getting a reevaluation of my tax assessment so I could get my property taxes lowered. So these are big swings, and when you're working with an apartment building such as yours at 16 units, these can make huge impacts ultimately on your bottom line at the end of the day, what you're going to net at the end of the year, which can maybe be the big difference. Like, let's just say in your insurance policy, for example, do you have a general idea what it is? So $520 a month. 5 times 12 is 60, so $6,000 a year. Okay, well, maybe a quote comes back with equal or better coverage at $4,500 a month. Well, hello, that's $1,500 extra a year to your bottom line. How much would that change? I mean, think about a person that's going to work by the hour. How that would, just thinking about that, if they're not yet fully a full-time investor and $1,500 a year, they would beg for a raise of $1,500, and all that was a phone call. I say all it was. Look, it's a little more complicated than that. I don't want to sound, again, like the book that just makes it sound so simple. It is a good phone call, but now guess what else you've done? You've expanded your network. You've also been respectful to the insurance guy you had. So you go back to him, you give him the opportunity. In both cases, you've developed those relationships. Now you have another network, another resource that you can tap into. You've developed your relationship with your mentors. You know, when they see a young man that feels stuck and they come to him and they say, you know, they're paying attention. The mentor sees that the young guy is paying attention to his business and is hungry to find adjustments and to look for opportunities to make adjustments to his business. So in your case, Caleb, I think that that's very important that you look at just those three. Now, I could give you more. I don't know how relevant of a quote this is. I'm going to make it relevant, whether it's all that. Oprah Winfrey said one time, she says, you know, I have 50 houses. I have a house in every state. But you know what I've learned? I can only live in one at a time. All right, so what I mean, let me give you a Joshua translation economics here. Pick one and go hit that one. So now that we've talked about it, look at your insurance, or look at your rent rates, look at your expirations, and see where you can make some adjustments. And try to define which one would be a priority. Which one's the path of least resistance? Which one's the path of most resistance? And then define. I know that you don't currently work and trade your time for money, so you have the time to probably do both. But that's okay. Things are important. You got to be a dad, right? You want to be a dad first. You want to be a husband first. And you want to be a dad second. You want to make sure you're taking care of your families. But when the kids dropped off at school, although I know your kid's not school age, mine are, you've kissed your bride, good day, and you've gone out into the world to see where your next opportunities are going to lie in your rural community for investing. Go ahead and knock those phone calls out. Check on your insurance, and then go look at your leases and breeze through though and see. Maybe you do, and maybe you don't. I know for years I didn't have spreadsheets that I understood or could break down and just have readily those available. Maybe that's one of the huge things you can do is work on your systemization of your processes. So these are the things that you can do that, like the insurance thing and the rent thing can have direct impacts within 30 to 60 days. Those can have direct impacts. But the systemization, that may not seem as direct, but that's going to be even more powerful to Your success is you're growing out your investments. And when you do that, what you're going to do is you're going to be built up. It's like going into the gym. You got an extra workout in. You've learned a new workout repetition, and you're excited about it. It's not the same old, same old. Now you've got a new little skill or something that you can implement. And so it's an opportunity for you to go and make an adjustment within your portfolio, and then that also gives you the strength of confidence that, hey, I can do another deal. I do have time and opportunities to go do the next thing. So with that, I mean, I know I've kind of chased a few rabbits today, but hopefully these have been good for you. Caleb, would you say that these are useful?
Yes. That little things like that. Big thing I see so far is the systems and processes stuff.
Systems and processes, and the little things make a big difference. What you're doing is you're leveraging your time in that case. Now, some that don't have as much time available, I would say you need to pick one, identify what you think are the most readily available things that you can do to improve your real estate investment, and tap into that and do the one, and then, look up in 2 weeks and try to take on the next. We eat an elephant one bite at a time, okay? We don't try to eat the elephant all at one time. So when you think about being stuck, go to your mentors. Seek their wisdom and their guidance. Take in the information, and then go hit one of those. When I'm in Bible study and I get stuck, and I feel like I'm just not prospering in my study time, whether it be Bible study or my business study, I try to go better perfect and become more mature in the last lesson I learned. And then in doing that, all of a sudden, a new lesson opens up to me. So in business, I would encourage you to do the same thing. Again, when you go to that mentor and you get that information, that can be extremely valuable to you. We want to thank everybody for coming out to RealKingsInvesting.com today. We hope this has been a benefit to you. I know it's been a sober gathering, but I want this to really encourage you. Maybe you're already in the investing business and you were stuck and you felt like that this was a challenge. Please comment on our YouTube channel and engage with us. If there's something that we can do to serve you, this is community service content. We want to engage with our subscribers, and for those that are following us, we ask that you would like, share, and subscribe our YouTube channel and communicate with us. And again, my name is Joshua Lynn Arnold with RealKingsInvesting.com, and we thank you for coming out with us today. God bless you.